Okay, we continue on where are we? Slide 26. Moving along after the depression and the stock market crash, um, we hit another new record. In 1936, a magazine published over $100 million in ads in that one year, one magazine. It was the most financially successful magazine the country had ever seen, primarily due to ad revenues. And it was Life magazine, which we've always referred to as a photojournalism magazine. And it was really responsible for starting this new um, uh, way of earning a living, which was photojournalism. Instead of writing, you took pictures. It ran weekly from 1883 to 1972, and the emphasis, as I said, was on photojournalism. It was the precursor to People magazine, and which, if you pick up any People magazine or Us Weekly magazine, you'll notice that the stories are very short, maybe a page, maybe 2 pages long, and it's full of pictures. It ran monthly from 1978 to 2000. Um, okay. Then advertising media changed again. In 1938, radio surpassed magazines as the dominant form of advertising. And so people were seeing that magazines reached a certain number of people, but radio reached so many more people. And they purchased um, 30 seconds on the radio or 1 minute, and they would purchase perhaps 30 1 minute commercials on the radio, and they would do that for maybe a week. So they'd have 4 to 5 spots, they called them, on the radio each day, and that's how they purchased them. And then in 1941, radio was doing so well, TV came along and said we can do the same thing. So 1941, we have television's first broadcast ad. It was an ad for a watch that ticked for 60 seconds. That's what they spent the money on for 60 seconds. It was the Bulova Watch Company, and it just ticked. 7,500 televisions in New York were tuned in to see it. It was quite a thing to see. The thrill of watching a watch on TV. And I'm wondering if you can think of a TV show that's been on the air since 1968 on Sundays, and you watch a watch ticking for 60 seconds at the beginning of the show, and I think every time they leave for a commercial, it's tick, 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 tick. Let's see if you can think of what that is. 1954, television makes history by going from black and white to color. Color came into the picture, and the world was set on its ear. Everyone had to have a color television. Of course, not everyone could afford a color television. In our neighborhood, only one family had a color television, and we'd all run over there to see special shows and that sort of thing. They would have to share it with the neighborhood. Which station do you think was the largest advertising medium in the world at this time? Well, we don't know, but let's guess which TV station had a um, had a logo that came on with 3 notes, and it had a logo that took advantage of the color in the color TV. It was a peacock, so think about that. In 1967, Mary Wells became the first woman to head a major advertising agency. Women were starting to show men that they could do it also. In the heat of the women's movement, we saw the impact of women having a great deal of influence on the direction advertising was taking in America. Because remember this, who was the person in the household who did the shopping back in the 60s? It was the female. The female decided what was purchased for the home. So in 1971, Congress banned cigarette advertising via broadcast media. So whereas we would watch movies where everybody was smoking and TV shows where everybody was smoking, you'll remember Ad Men during that time in the 60s, everybody smoked at work. As a matter of fact, everybody drank at work. But they said we had to take smoking off because this was when we realized that smoking caused cancer. So cigarette companies felt the bruises from the advertising restraint and rechanneled all of their ads into magazines and billboards. There's always a way to get your message out. And this is what happened. We started to see people like Tom Selleck advertise Salem cigarettes. I'll never forget that. It's the first time I saw him, and I thought, this guy is going places. And he did, of course. Okay, we're going to stop right here, and then we'll do one last one to finish this up.